Hey, how's it going, guys? Hope you're staying safe and healthy amongst the COVID-19 pandemic. So, this video, you guys are probably looking at this like, bro, this guy doesn't upload on weekdays. What's going on here? He hasn't even released his Green Lantern Omnibus review yet. That's actually already, like, already edited. It's on its way. It'll be here for, like, the 3rd or the 2nd, whichever one's a Saturday. But I just had to make this video because I am thoroughly disappointed in DC Comics right now. This is the Superman by Morrison Omnibus. In my Green Lantern Omni video, I highlight the fact that I'm really excited to review this. I haven't even opened it yet, and I'm disappointed in it, and that's a problem. So this book has a number of problems. And honestly, I'm going to mention these in my review. Don't get me wrong, this is not replacing the review, because I haven't read it yet. But, like, I needed to rant a little bit here. So first off, the inside of this book, it messes up a credit to one of the co-writers of this entire everything that's in this Omni, or at least a good chunk of it. And that to me is just so disappointing because, you know, when someone works so hard to get their name on a book, when someone works so hard to get their name on something as big as Superman, and then you go ahead and you spell their name wrong. Like, come on, DC. You're printing these out in the mass. Surely you've had plenty of time to filter through any kind of issues and double check any kind of issues, and yet for some reason you spell one of the co-writers' names wrong inside of the book when you're acknowledging them as an author. These people are working for you. They're putting their life's work towards you. They're pumping out stories for you that people, you know, are purchasing with the DC Comics name on it, and you miscredit them. And that's not the only thing that's wrong with this book. On top of that, this book, it has an entire page of missing dialogue. An entire page. There is a whole page in this book in the first few issues. Issue 2, I believe, is where it shows up, where there are no text bubbles. And this occurs during, I believe, an encounter between Superman and Lex Luthor. And Lex Luthor is, like, analyzing Superman. This is important. This isn't, like, small talk stuff we're talking about here. This is actual, like, important to read stuff that contributes towards the story that people worked on, put their time in for, you know, are getting paid to work on this book. And they miss a whole page of text box and, you know, interchanging conversation between Superman and Lex Luthor. That's just super disappointing to me. Not only does that break the immersion of the book that you're reading, it's super disrespectful to the authors who spend the time to make a story. Alright? Zoomed in, one page of dialogue doesn't look like much in a giant Omni like this. But you've got to understand that when people are writing a story, there's a structure. There's a format, right? And even if you just take one page away, you are messing with that structure that people have worked so hard to pump out and to, you know, they've polished it, they've put their effort in towards it, and you didn't consider that enough to make sure that one of the pages had dialogue. We're not talking about one missing box here. We're talking about a whole page. I'll put it up here so you guys can take a look at it in post-prod. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. Imagine this page with absolutely zero text. Go ahead and give that a read. Because in my opinion, this dialogue, sure, it may not be a key structure to the story, but it's part of the story. It's part of what you're reading. It needs to be included. And oh, another great thing. This book has a table of contents. Oh, thank the Lord it has a table of contents, because that helps you so much when you're just like, you know what, I really want to read this story. Let's flip to that page. There are no page numbers. There's a table of contents with reference to page numbers when there are no page numbers. Let me just count the 500th and like 60th page by myself to open up to the right page or to the right story that I want to read. Okay. And then I've also heard rumors that apparently the mapping is off, that in terms of continuity, story should have been rearranged differently. All of that. This book is 99 Canadian, 75 US. I got it for 75 Canadian plus tax. It was a pretty good deal. Now to me, yeah, $20 difference. I'll take a misprinted page. Sure. But I'm not even mad about that. Like honestly, like the issue that's in this book that's misprinted can be found in a small like $15 volume of Superman by Grant Morrison, Volume 1. And I think I saw one at Dollarama the other day for like $5. I could pick that up and read that page if I wanted to. If I wanted to, I could just read that. But my issue is that it's disrespectful. You know, especially like it's just piling up and piling up and piling up. Like you incorrectly spell one of the author's names wrong. Then you take away a page worth of dialogue. And like I'm not talking like one text like bubble per panel either. There were multiple exchanges here. There were like Lex Luthor talking, there were like multiple text bubbles of him analyzing, you really get a deep idea of it. And you just see like you see the like Lex Luthor talking, but you don't see anything he's saying because they didn't include it. That to me is just disappointing. Like, hey, if I want to, I'll just read the volume. That's easy. I'll see that dialogue. I could look the dialogue up. I'm not much of a person to reread stories unless they're a big thing to me. But what bothers me is that now that option really isn't there. I don't like the idea of rereading a story that's even the slightest component is missing it. I could reread it in the sense of reading the volume and then continuing on in the omnibus. I'd be fine with that. But to me, it's bothersome. The whole purpose of buying an omni is that you don't have to pick up multiple books, and now in order to actually get the story that I paid for, and that Grant Morrison and other authors work so hard to produce, I have to pick up multiple books. Is that not the entire purpose of an omnibus, to be able to open up one book and have contained story, or at least a good portion of it? One text box, that's excusable. That could happen. An entire page and a misspelled author credit. Like, you gotta understand, man. Getting into DC Comics, getting to where you want to be as an author or an artist in comics, it's hard. I've watched videos of Jim Lee talking about how he basically just used to draw till his hands hurt like hell. And I'm sure there was a similar process when it came to these authors, and here we are having their names miscredited and parts of their dialogue ripped out of the book. I don't know if the authors are mad about this, but to me, this is just disrespectful. How can you publish this many books when it goes through, it has to go through some kind of filtering system to make sure that there's no issues, no spelling mistakes, stuff like that, and you don't include an entire page of dialogue, and you misspell the author's name, and the mapping is off apparently, and you don't add page numbers when there's literally a table of contents referring to exact page numbers to go to certain stories? It's just disappointing, man. DC is really, really, really messed up in this one, man. I am very disappointed. Apparently, if you cut up like this piece and rip it off and send a photo to DC or the distributor who gave it to you, DC will provide a new updated copy to the distributor you purchased from, and then that distributor will give you the brand new copy. To me, that's a process that shouldn't even have to happen. It's also just disrespectful, Not to the people who are having to rip it up. I just think DC saying like, "Hey, man, like, yeah, we made a mistake. We need you to fix it by defacing the book that so many authors poured their hearts into, so many artists poured their hearts into. And then you have to wait. How long? I have no clue. It really depends. Especially if you're somewhere international where DC Comics isn't close to your country. Can you imagine how long you'd have to wait? You know, it's interesting. I was on Amazon and I was wondering why this book was discounted for as low as it was. $75 off of a $100 asking price. Literally like a week and a half after it released. And I was curious. I wonder why it's so discounted. Amazon gives great deals. That's probably why. But like, if I paid full price for this, I'd be disappointed. I would be. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like, I myself, I don't think that my money being spent on a misprint Omni is the problem here. I think it's just mainly the disrespect to the authors and the people who put their effort and, you know, their blood, sweat, and tears into this book and the story. When you consider how many hours of work had to go into it, you know, the thought process, the like everything they had to do to get to where they wanted to be able to work on Superman. And also, when Superman as a character doesn't have that many Omnis to begin with, you kind of start to wonder, are they going to start respecting the character the way they should be? I know there's another Omni for Superman coming out later this year. Let's hope to God they know how to spell the author's name in that one, and that they know how to actually put page numbers on. And that, you know, what you're supposed to be reading is actually there. Let's hope. Because if it's not, man, disappointing. Honestly, I'm not even sure that there are any other Superman Omnis other than Death and Return of Superman Omni, this one, and the one coming out later this year. I haven't looked further enough into it, but I do know that for all the DC characters, Superman is in a deficit for Omnis. It needs more. But when you come out and you release an Omni and it's, well, disappointing, to say the least. In terms of just how it was produced, not the actual content within it or anything like that, I'm sure it's a good story. But the fact that before even getting to indulge in this story, I know there's going to be a point in which I'm disengaged from it because there's an entire page of missing dialogue. Like, to me, I think credits are extremely important. When someone works hard to give you something amazing, or even something that isn't that good, you still gotta credit them, man. They put the work in. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. I don't know if this is good, but even if it isn't, you gotta give them credit where it's due. And usually you give them credit by not spelling their last name wrong. It's a memo maybe DC should pick up. Anyways, just figured I'd release this video because I am heavily disappointed. Just the fact that, like, they couldn't have dealt with this sooner, and now everyone is having to rip up the front of their DC Omni and wait. Not sure what the ETA is on those returns. I'm not tearing mine up. I'm keeping mine. I'll just buy that $4 copy of Volume 1 and call it a day. But to not have proper credits to the author, that's the part that really bothers me. That, and then next comes the missing bubbles, and then table of contents and page numbers. In comparison to those first two, not that bad looking. But in general, why add a table of contents if you're not going to actually have page numbers? Anyways, thank you guys for listening to my rant. I just need to get this off my chest because this was just so frustrating to me. I can only imagine how the people who worked on this story are feeling right now. And I hope that DC gets their stuff together soon, and sooner rather than later. Thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any future recommendations for videos I should do, whether it be reviews about any of the books on my bookshelf or anything upcoming, anything you're interested in, Swamp Thing, Aquaman, blah, 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 let me know. Leave a comment, and I'm more than willing to invest some money into reading a run if I'm interested enough in it. Or if I have it already, even better. Don't have to spend that much money. Excellent. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Love you guys.